Sleepovers are supposed to be fun a night of friendship, laughter, and secrets shared in the dark. But what happens when the people you trust and the place you think is safe hide horrors you could never imagine? Tonight, I'm sharing 3 true stories of sleepovers that turned into living nightmares. These aren't just scary tales, they're real experiences that will haunt your dreams. Jacob was 12. A quiet kid, thoughtful, smart, and always a bit more reserved than the others in his 6th grade class. He had just moved to a new school 3 months prior and was slowly adjusting to the rhythm of unfamiliar faces and unspoken social rules. That's when Mason entered his life. Mason was popular, the kind of kid who had the newest phone, cracked jokes that got the whole class laughing, and somehow knew things a 12-year-old shouldn't. But what set him apart wasn't just his confidence, it was the strange magnetism he had. The way people wanted to be around him, even when something about him felt off. One Friday afternoon, out of nowhere, Mason turned to Jacob at recess. "Want to come to my house tonight? Just you. Sleepover. We'll play Dead Space. Ever played it?" Jacob, surprised but eager to finally feel included, nodded. "Cool," Mason said. "Don't tell the others." That should have been the first red flag. Mason's house was only 10 minutes from school, nestled in a cul-de-sac shadowed by overgrown oak trees. It looked ordinary from the outside. 2 stories, beige paint, a minivan in the driveway. But Jacob felt it the moment he stepped inside. The air was thick, stagnant, like the house had been sealed shut for too long. The curtains were drawn, every light dim. There was no laughter, no warmth, just an eerie silence, occasionally broken by the ticking of an antique grandfather clock in the hallway. Mason's parents weren't there. "They're working late," Mason shrugged. "All night." "They do that?" Jacob didn't know what to say, so he followed Mason upstairs. The 2nd floor smelled like something old, like rotting wood mixed with a faint chemical scent. Mason's room, by contrast, was strangely immaculate. Every object was aligned. His bed was made so tight the sheets looked ironed, but the walls, they were covered in strange charcoal drawings, not posters. Drawings. They weren't superhero sketches or anime, they were twisted figures with hollow faces, spindly arms, people with mouths sewn shut, dozens of them. "You drew these?" Jacob asked, trying to sound impressed. Mason smirked. "They're real." As night fell, Mason turned off the lights and booted up the horror game. But after an hour, he shut it off mid-mission. "Want to do something real scary?" Jacob hesitated. "Like what?" "Basement game. I only play it with friends I trust." Mason led Jacob downstairs to the basement door. One Jacob hadn't noticed before that it was locked with a heavy bolt. "Why is it locked?" "So she can't come out." Jacob laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. But Mason didn't smile. That he pulled a rusted key from a hidden panel behind a picture frame and opened the door. The basement stairs creaked as they descended. The air was colder, far colder, like stepping into a different season. There were no lights, only candles, already set up in a perfect circle on the concrete floor. In the center, a small wooden box with black thread wrapped tightly around it. "Sit across from me," Mason said, lighting the candles. "But don't break the circle." "What is this?" "My sister's game. She made it before she died." Jacob froze. "You had a sister?" "She still visits. But only if you open the box and play." Mason began chanting something. Not Latin. It sounded made up, almost childlike. But with every word, the room felt darker. The shadows from the candlelight began to stretch unnaturally. Jacob tried to laugh it off, but a sudden sound silenced him. A scratching from the inside of the box. Then 3 knocks. From inside, Jacob shot to his feet, backing away from the circle. "You broke the circle!" Mason screamed. "What the hell is this? You weren't supposed to get up?" "She's awake now." The candles flickered violently, one by one going out. And then in the pitch dark, a whisper in Jacob's ear. "Don't leave yet. We just started playing." Jacob ran. He bolted up the stairs, his lungs screaming for air. But the hallway was different now, elongated, warped, like a funhouse. Every picture on the walls showed him, but with his eyes gouged out, he finally reached the front door, but it was chained. Behind him, footsteps. But not Mason's, slow, uneven, bare feet dragging on the wood. Then giggling, Jacob turned and saw her. Just for a second, a little girl, hair matted, eyes hollow, skin a pale bluish gray. She was smiling. That's when Mason tackled him from behind. You woke her up. Mason screamed, shaking Jacob violently. She wasn't ready. She's still hungry. Jacob bit his hand, scrambled out the door, and ran until his legs gave out in a neighbor's yard. The police were called. They found Jacob, terrified, scratched, and trembling. But when they went to Mason's house, site was emptied and no parents. No furniture. The basement. It was sealed in drywall as if it never existed. There were no candles. No drawings. No sign that anyone had lived there in years. The house had been foreclosed for 6 months. Mason never existed in school records. Submitted by Kendra T. Virginia, 2015 runtime. 18 minutes. Jessica was a mystery from the moment she arrived at school. She never spoke much, always keeping her head down, her long dark hair hiding half her face. Her clothes were always too big, and she always wore long sleeves even in summer. Nobody knew where she came from. No one knew her family. She seemed almost forgotten. When she asked me to come over for a sleepover, I was surprised but didn't hesitate. I thought maybe she just needed a friend. Jessica's house was out of the way down a winding, unpaved road, with tall trees leaning overhead like sentinels. There was no streetlight for miles, and when I finally saw the house, my stomach dropped. It was an old ranch-style home, with cracked windows and peeling paint. The lawn was overgrown. A thick fog hovered around the yard like a veil. The door creaked open before I could knock. Jessica's mother stood there, smiling too wide, too still. Her eyes caught mine, and I swear, for a split second, they went completely black. Jessica grabbed my hand and pulled me inside before I could react. The inside was strangely empty. No photos, no furniture except a sagging couch and a rickety table. The air smelled like damp wood and something metallic like blood. Every doorframe had a crucifix nailed above it. Every window was curtained thickly, blocking out all light. Jessica's parents barely spoke. They just watched me. Jessica insisted we sleep in the guest room. My room's different, she said. It doesn't like visitors. The room was cold. Too cold that a large mirror hung on the wall, but it was covered by a black cloth that on the dresser was. A porcelain doll cracked, chipped, with no eyes that I tried to laugh it off. Around midnight, I woke to a noise soft, almost like humming that I looked over and saw Jessica standing by the window, rocking slowly. Who's here? I whispered. Jessica didn't answer, just kept humming. Suddenly, the closet door creaked open. A pale, thin hand with broken fingernails slid out slowly across the floorboards that I froze. Jessica's voice was a whisper. Don't wake her. She's blind, but she knows when you're afraid. Later, I asked Jessica why the mirror was covered. She watches, Jessica said. She watches when the lights go out. The cloth slipped from the mirror during the night that I woke to see a shadowy figure reflected in the glass. It wasn't Jessica. It was a woman with hollow eyes and a cracked smile. The porcelain doll's mouth twitched as if it were alive. Jessica told me a story. Her family was cursed generations ago. An ancestor had trapped a vengeful spirit in that house. The spirit could only escape through the mirror, but it needed a body. It fed on fear. It chose faces, stealing them. One by one, Jessica's family tried to keep it contained, but the spirit wanted more. That's why Jessica's room was off limits. When I left the next morning, I thought it was over, but I forgot my bracelet in the guest room. I ran back to get it. The closet door was shut tight, but inside, on the wooden paneling behind the doll, was scratched a warning. Don't wake her up. Jessica never came back to school. Her family disappeared overnight. No forwarding address, no calls. Later, I heard the house was condemned. Toxic black mold, they said. But I know the truth, because sometimes, when I'm alone, I swear I hear whispering behind my closet door, and I sometimes catch a glimpse in mirrors of a pale woman smiling just behind me. Anonymous, Texas, 2020 runtime. 18 minutes. The year 2020 was brutal. Quarantine stretched on like an endless night, leaving us restless and desperate for human connection. My friends Chloe, Kira, and I decided to have a safe sleepover in Chloe's backyard. 3 tents spaced out 6 feet apart. Masks on. Hand sanitizer everywhere. We called it our quarantine campout. Not ideal, but better than being alone. Around 10 p.m., Chloe pulled Something out of her backpack. It looked ancient, a handmade spirit board, carved from dark wood, edges singed as if burned. There were no letters. Instead, strange symbols, eyes, mouths, teeth, all carved with unsettling precision. That it gave me chills. But we laughed it off. Thought it would be funny to try it. We sat in a circle on the grass. Only a single lantern flickered between us. Is anyone here? I asked, voice cracking. The planchette moved slowly, deliberately. It stopped over the symbol of a wide-open mouth. Chloe whispered, "What's your name?" The planchette spelled it out. Sarh. The temperature dropped suddenly. Our breath fogged in the AT first. We joked, "Sarah who?" But the lantern flickered, then died. The tent flap unzipped. Nobody was there. Just an empty yard. That night, I heard laughter, childlike, innocent, but layered, multiple voices speaking at once like a choir of echoes. I told myself it was nerves. But then my tent zipped open on its own. I swore I saw her. A girl, tall, thin, pale skin like waxed and no eyes. Her mouth was stitched shut with black thread. When she opened it, flies swarmed out. I blacked out. Next morning, Kira was gone. No text, no call. Just gone. We searched everywhere. 2 days later, they found her body near a dry creek. No wounds. No signs of struggle. Just dead. Her arms were covered in scratches. The worst was on her forearm. Nail-deep gouges formed a single word. Sarah? We tried to destroy the spirit board. Burned it. Drowned it. But it didn't catch fire. It never warped out. We wrapped it in salt, locked it in a box, and dumped it in the lake. But a week later, I started hearing something. A zipper sliding open. At night. Inside my room. I'd wake up, heart pounding, to the sound of the zipper on my tent. But I was inside my house. And then I saw it. On my mirror, fogged by my breath, the word, hello, written in dripping letters. Sarah's voice whispers in my ear now. She tells me to play again. Say her name. But I won't. Because I know what happens when you play with her name. We all think sleepovers are safe, filled with laughter and friendship. But sometimes, beneath the surface, dark secrets wait to be uncovered. These stories show how even the most innocent nights can turn terrifying. So, if something feels off at a sleepover, trust your instincts. Lock the doors, stay close to your friends, and whatever you do, don't answer if something calls your name in the dark. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. More true horror awaits. Sleep tight if you can.